Thank you very much for being here, and I'd like to thank TESOL Arabia for organizing this great event. My session is lifelong learning skills in the 21st century classroom. I'll be using some visual aids just because I'm a visual learner, but it's fine if you can't see everything on the visuals because it's on the slides too. So this is a little information about myself. I'm an English instructor. I work in Saudi Arabia, and these are part of the associations that I'm part of: TESOL Sudan, Africa TESOL, English Language Testing Society, TESOL International, IATEFL Global Issues, KSOL TESOL, and National Geographic. So if you look at this picture, it's a funny juxtaposition, but it's true. Our TVs are 20 pounds lighter than they were in the past. In the meantime, we've put on 20 pounds of weight. Our Nokia phones were so durable that they damaged the floor when you drop them. And now our iPhones cost as much as an organ, and they shatter to pieces at the slightest touch. This shows us that technology has advantages and disadvantages. First of all, it makes life easier, and it leads to fewer mistakes and saves time. And before COVID, we just looked at the advantages of technology, but the disadvantages is that it causes people to lose jobs, and that's what's happening right now. Instead of having 10 teachers, you can only have 2 teachers in a Zoom class. So it is a problem. It reduces communication, and it makes people lazy. So this is something that we can see these days. So if you just think about the changes from your elementary and secondary school years to your life today, there's so many changes in entertainment, careers, transportation, jobs, methods of purchase, ATM machines, electricity, and so many changes. And even now, these days, so many things have changed as well. So as teachers, we need to think about our students. So every teacher needs to ask 2 questions. What do my students need to be successful and productive in today's world? And what do I need to do as a teacher to make that happen? Now I'm going to talk about the 20th century classroom and framework. So if you look at this picture, it shows the 20th century classroom, and it's not really inviting. The students are all sitting together in, they're in one big group, and the teacher's the one who's doing all the talking. The teacher's the sage on the stage. It's not very inviting, no posters, no visual aids, and the students seem very happy. So this is what the 21st century classroom looked like. The framework for the 21st century focused on assessment and core subjects. So it was just teaching and testing. So just teaching to the test the whole time. Now, this is the 21st century classroom, and this is what the classroom should look like today. And going back to David's presentation, virtual reality and laptops and computers, and this is what the 21st century classroom should look like. And if we look at the framework, there are slight changes. It's 21st, instead of just assessment in the past, it's 21st century assessment. And instead of focusing on core subjects only, it focuses on life skills, 21st century content, learning and thinking skills, and ICT literacy. And I'll talk more about these points later if time allows. So this is just briefly about the 21st century classroom, the pictures that we saw. Students are sitting in chairs and desks. The classrooms are isolated. Students are just clumped into age groups, and there's only one teacher in the classroom. It's teacher-centered, and there's a bell, and the students move to the class at the sound of the bell. This is a video that we can watch later, also if we have time. And then if we look at 21st century learning, 21st century learning is active, it's research driven, it focuses on what students know. There's collaboration, students work together and they work with each other and with the teacher. It's student centered, the curriculum is integrated, we value diversity, it focuses on outcomes and not just completing the book. The expectations are high, and because students are engaged, there's respect. So now I'm going to talk about 21st century skills, the 4 C's. So since the 1990s, educators and policymakers have been discussing the need to develop the need for 21st century skills. The Partnership for 21st Century Learning introduced the 4 C's, which are for learning. And these 4 C's are critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. So these are the 4 C's that have to be in each classroom. So first of all, communication is sharing thoughts and ideas, and in a technological age, it's easier, at the same time harder. Communication has made life easier, but there are challenges as well. It's more convenient to communicate, but it can be really overwhelming, and this is something that we can see right now. Sometimes people focus more on the technology used rather than actually getting the message across. Without effective communication, there's no way to get anything done, whether it's inside the classroom or outside. The next C is collaboration, and collaboration is working together to reach a goal. Technology has made collaboration easier. However, just like we said in communication, some breakdowns can happen. The number of choices can be so overwhelming, and the actual collaboration can get lost while we pay too much attention to the tool we're using to collaborate rather than the actual message. As the world gets more interconnected, collaboration will be a more and more essential skill than it is today. Critical thinking, which is looking at problems in a new way, and it's learning across subjects and disciplines. Critical thinking has been an essential skill in every profession. It allows students to make sense of present content and apply it to their daily lives. However, it's too risky to let technology to do all the thinking for us. And in order to succeed in the 21st century, we have to remember that no matter how advanced the machine is, it's useless without a person telling it what to do. Our final C is creativity, and it's trying new approaches to get things done. It's innovation, just like we saw in the previous presentation. The 21st century is a fun time to be creative thanks to technology, and there's so many new possibilities. For example, instead of painting a picture, you can animate it or arrange a piece of music without even learning how to play. It's up to you to utilize your own thinking power and the technology at hand to get the creative project done. They realized that the partnership for Professor Michael Fullen, who's an educational researcher, noticed that students need more than the 6 C's to be successful in today's world. Students need grit, they need perseverance, they need capacity to empathize with others, they need emotional intelligence. So they decided that these 4 C's are not enough, and these are called deeper learning competencies. So 2 additional C's were added to the first 4, and now this is what the framework looks like. We have 6 C's now. The first one, which is culture and citizenship. Citizenship and culture go hand in hand, and it's important for every individual to be in touch with everything that surrounds them, including culture and community. So it encourages the person to appreciate where they're from, and they need to know how we can move into the future. Culture associates the individual to everything that surrounds them, like art, drama, poetry, religion, technology, and of course the individuals themselves. The 6th one is character education, and character education refers to the individuals, the qualities of the individuals essential for being effective in a complex world, which includes the deeper learning competencies, which are grit, perseverance, ability to empathize, etc. It's an understanding of the importance of human connectivity in a world filled with technology, which is a necessary skill to teach children. Like today, for example, we're connecting online, but yesterday, when I was looking at my TESOL Arabia posters and pictures from previous years, I felt nothing can replace that face-to-face communication and being with people in Dubai and communicating. So it also includes the school's commitment to help young people become more responsible, caring, and contributing citizens. So there are a few misconceptions about the word 21st century learning. So for example, when we say 21st century, we have myths. When we say, for example, 21st century focuses only on technology. This is not true. The truth is that it focuses on helping students meet their needs, and they do that through technology. The second myth is critical thinking is thinking hard and doing puzzles. That is not true. It's thinking hard and making judgments, reasoning, problem solving, and also being creative. The third one is critical thinking means collaboration and communication and collaboration mean working in groups only. That's not true. The truth is collaboration, communication mean working in groups, valuing diverse ideas, tailoring the message to the audience to achieve a common goal. And finally, creativity is only for artists. That's not true. Creativity helps all students think creatively, implement innovation, and work harmoniously with others. So now I'm going to talk about an activity that's a lot of fun, and I used it in my classroom, and it's a 21st century skill that promotes all the C's, creativity, collaboration, communication, and it's fun. It's called the Genius Hour. What are you passionate about? So passion drives what we all love and do. Without passion, the world would not be the way it is today. It took the passion of someone to invent the wheel. It took the passion of someone to invent chocolate. It took the passion of someone to invent video games. This activity focuses on finding one's passion and building up on it. Maybe the next invention can be from your classroom. So Genius Hour is, as I said, it's a 21st century tool, and it means having a certain amount of time to let students focus on the things that they're passionate about. So what you do is you divide your class into 80-20. It follows an 80-20 rule. Means 80% of class time should be for the normal teaching and 20% is for the genius hour. So you can just talk to your students and ask them what you're passionate about. And before you start, you can ask them, for example, if you ask me what I'm passionate about, I'll say conferences and traveling, and I'll try to get all the information I need about different conferences, different speakers. So if you're passionate about something, you would find a way to find the information. So the students can talk about football, makeup, cooking, whatever they like. And we're actually teaching them research. They're going through a research process. So when you start, you make a list of questions and you ask the students so they can actually find out what they're passionate about. Sometimes you need to help them find it. So for example, you ask them, what are some of your current passions? It could be anything they like. Why are you passionate about this topic? Which questions will you be researching? So they're going to do research. If they like football, they're going to do research about famous football players or anything that they're interested in. Why is this question important to you? So it's something that they really like and something that they really want to know about, something that they're passionate about, like football, for example. What questions do you have about your topic? What do you already know about your topic? And you'll be amazed how the students will talk about the things that they're interested in, even if they're A0 learners or they have, barrier communication problems, not native speakers or A0 learners. They can still express what they're passionate about with a lot of passion. What resources will you need? So while they're at the end of their project, they're going to, after they do their whole research process, they're going to come up and present their project in a very creative way. And you can leave it up to them. You can give them ideas. They can do a PowerPoint presentation. They can do a role play, podcast, whatever they feel comfortable, an album, a photo album, anything they're interested in. And there were amazing ideas in my class when the students did this project. Actually, the role play was one of their ideas. How will you present your information? So ask them to be creative and present it to the class in a really interesting way. So there are certain principles of the Genius Hour, 6 important principles. So the first one, as I said, is the 80-20 rule, and it's up to you to divide it. You can have, for example, if you're teaching, you can have 1 lesson per day at the end of the class when they're all tired. You can give them that 1 hour once a week or every day, or depending on you'll be able to balance it based on your curriculum. So it's 80% for 80% for class time and 20% for the Genius Hour. And the fun thing about it is that the students don't even know that they're learning, and they just think that they're playing and having fun because they're doing what they like to do. Another principle is socializing.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
I can hear I think someone's speaker is on. Socializing, students connect with teachers. So they work in groups, they interact with their teachers, they interact with colleagues, and they go around asking questions. They have questionnaires or surveys, so they get to socialize and work with each other, whether it's with their peers or with other colleagues or teachers as well. There's a sense of purpose. The purpose of learning is student-centered, and they feel independent, proud of themselves because it's their own project and it's their own idea, so they have this sense of ownership. As I said, at the end of the project, they create something, whether they publish or design or act, or this is one of the main principles of the Genius Hour, is that they have to come up with something at the end of their project. And they are designing their own learning. Students are left to design their own learning experiences. It's a really fun activity, and it really helps in the classroom. My second activity is the Fishbowl Activity. And in this activity, a small group is in the middle, and there's a larger group outside. The small group is the fishbowl. So you have students sitting inside the fishbowl, and the others are standing outside. And it also encourages 21st century learning. So the ones inside the circle are modeling how something is done for the larger group. So this is what it looks like. You see the students inside are talking about a particular topic, and they're discussing it. The ones outside are only observing. They don't ask questions. They don't get involved in the conversation, and they just observe the ones outside. The ones inside. So first of all, you select a topic, and you give it to the students who are in the fishbowl. You can give them like 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the level. And then they just read about a certain topic, and they start discussing it when they get in the fishbowl. You give them a few minutes to prepare their ideas, and the ones outside can prepare questions for the ones that are inside. These are the ones outside get to ask questions. You can give them some questions in advance. You can print them out and let them focus on these questions. So the ones outside observing are watching the students. So you can ask them to choose a particular student. So what is the name of the student you observed? How many times did this student participate? And they write that down. Did the student help further the discussion by asking questions, making connections, debating? Write down specific ways this student contributed to the discussion. Were the points the student made directly related to the text? Did the student provide new information that deepened your own personal understanding? So they write these things down, and then they're actually playing a teacher's role. So in the fishbowl, the ones inside who are participating in the discussion do this for around 15 minutes, and then they get to change places. And there are different ways you can get them to change places. So the ones inside the fishbowl go out and become participants, and the ones outside go in. So it can happen really fast. There are different ways to do this. You can use the tap system, where the ones outside just tap on their shoulders, the shoulders of the ones who are inside, and that means they switch places. Or after 15 minutes, you can ring a bell, or you can just say switch, and then they switch places and exchange roles. So after the discussion, you can ask the students to reflect on how they think the discussion went and what they learned from it. Students can also evaluate their performance as listeners and participants. And you can also ask them another set of questions. What did you observe during the discussion of the fishbowl? What is one thing you heard that you agree with? What is one thing you heard that you disagree with? How did you feel when you were outside of the fishbowl? And how did you feel when you were inside the fishbowl? This is really useful. My college, we use PET and KET Cambridge speaking exams. So this is really good for the speaking, so they can, describe what they can see in the picture. In one of the questions, they have to do that. So this really, really helps, and there's great discussion that can be generated from this. My next activity is called the Think Aloud. So the Think Aloud is a teaching strategy used to model how readers think as they read. It's a metacognition. It's thinking about what you're thinking. And it's interesting how we do it without even thinking. For example, if you're reading a text, you kind of drift away, and it kind of reminds you of things that you've been through, or you start imagining what the place looks like. So Think Alouds have been described as eavesdropping on one's thinking. And it helps teachers verbalize aloud while reading a selection. So for example, when you're reading a story or a book, you probably say, I don't understand what this means. So the things that go on in our heads while we're reading. So for example, this is how it's done. If you have a story, this is Cinderella. Once upon a time, there was an unhappy girl named Cinderella. So I'm reading. And then when I close the book, I'm thinking, I wonder what the word Cinderella means. Let me use a Post-it and write this word down and look it up in the dictionary later. Or, so you demonstrate what you want your students to do when they're thinking aloud. So if you want them to look the words up in the dictionary right away, or you want them to put a Post-it and look at it later. So whatever you want them to do, you just demonstrate that and show it to them. So as I said, you can have the book open when you're reading, and then when you're thinking, you close the book, or you can stand on one side of the class to show that you're reading, and then you walk to the other side of the class to show that you're thinking. The funny thing about this is when I was doing it with my students and I was thinking aloud, they just looked at me and they were really worried about me because they thought I was crazy talking to myself. But yes?
2 more minutes. 3 actually.
Oh, wow. Okay. So after you do the think aloud, you can just get the students to focus. This is what it looks like, actually. And I'm just going to read these questions very quickly. So when they're reading a text, what does this word mean? This is what they need to think about. What do I think of this story? This story makes me feel happy or sad because. What do I think will happen next in the text? And what does this story remind me of? So this is the cloud. You can get the students to make it and focus on the questions that they need to know.
Wow.
And that's it.